Hello, how's everyone doing? Welcome to today's very special stream. I do want to give a huge shout out to the Flute Center for lending me the Lafin 14K head joint that we have here. We started to, we did a very brief review of it last week when we found out that it did not fit I believe it was the Murumatsu. And so I tried it on my flute and it fit. Um, so just to give you guys a bit of a backstory as to what the heck is going on here. On the left here, we have the Brannen here. I'll do this, then you guys can see it a little bit better. So on the left here, we have, maybe this is even better. We have the Brannen 10K Modern Cooper cut that I originally got with my flute in 2008. So it's been a really long time. This was the original head joint, and I built my current career mostly on this head joint. Then in I want to say, was it 2021? I cannot remember. I'm gonna look it up really quickly on my own channel. Do you guys remember? It was 2020. Okay, so we have 2008. This is 2020. This was, I wasn't supposed to buy this. This was supposed to be just a review of Mancke head joints. And I saw this one and was like, ooh, I know that my piccolo is Mopane wood, which is what this wood is here on the lip plate. And I know that I play very well on rose gold. Like rose gold, it just fits me. And so I was like, I'll bet I'll end up really liking this. I tried it and of course fell in love with it while trying not to fall in love with it on camera. So, I ended up taking it out for a trial and then I purchased it. So if you guys are wondering where I had the funds from, it was from saving up a ton. So my budget at the time was anywhere between 7,000 to 10,000. I was expecting to pay. I think I was kind of being generous with myself, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I can find something between 5,000 and 10,000. But I was like, knowing the kind of upgrade that I want, ain't no way it's going to be 5,000 and under. So, in my head, I knew that the budget was going to be somewhere between 7,000 and 10,000. Now, this head joint on the right is a 14K Lafin. And this was the original dream head joint. So I had heard about Lafins playing super well on Brannens. And in fact, when I was doing some research for this stream, I noticed that some distributors actually market a Lafin as the head joint upgrade to go with Brannens. I found that very interesting. So for anyone out there who has a Brannen or is thinking of having a Brannen, you may have already heard that Lafins play very well with Brannens. So, and what's really funny is that it just so happened that the Flute Center sent me the exact one that I was thinking of getting, which is the one with wings on the lip plate. So if I'm not incorrect, I believe my my professor, master's level professor, Linda Lucas, I believe she had basically this. I'm not sure what the exact specs were, but I at least seem to recall that she did have a rose gold Lafin with wings. And I believe it was 14K because I recall that her Brannen was a 14K, whereas mine was a 10K. So I tried this last week on my own flute, and a bunch of you guys already started freaking out because it does sound very good on me. So I asked the Flute Center for permission to hold on to the Lafin for another week so that I could do this stream. This stream is, I'm going to be completely real with you guys, is 100% just for me. I just want to settle in my heart. What are the differences? Like, what are the true differences? Like, what made me fall in love with the Mancke accidentally? Perhaps what was I looking for with my original dream? You know, like what kind of music would I have ended up playing more of if I had gotten the Lafin, you know, stuff like that. So this is truly just for me to, like, I guess, like, kind of in a weird way, sort of have some closure. I feel like this is something that is very unique and special of an experience to have. I feel like all of us kind of have that dream flute or that dream head joint, that dream instrument, or we're like, what if we went with that one? So like, I kind of want this stream to also demonstrate that you can have multiple head joints that fit you extremely well. Like, that is your glass slipper. But it kind of depends on what you end up doing most often. Like, what do you play most often? What kind of music do you play most often? What kind of venue do you play most often? Who do you play with? Are you a chamber player? Are you an orchestral player? Are you a soloist? All those things. So, you know, like, I have a lot of students who will, you know, ask me, like, how do you know which one is the one? And I'm like, well, at a certain point, there isn't the one. There is a few, and it just kind of depends on what you play the most, you know, what kind of music you play the most, and what fits your lifestyle the most. It's kind of like dating. Okay, so like, I know that the more romantic thing is to think like, yes, you know, you have your like one and only true love, blah, blah, blah. And it's true, like, to a certain extent, it's true in that this person came into your life at the right time, matches you well at that time, and you guys can grow together, right? But let's say your circumstances were different. Let's say an alternate version of you grew up elsewhere, had different experience, it formed you into a different person. Well, you're probably going to end up dating someone else, you know? So there you go. Yes, Viricosin was asking what the wings are for. Yes, they are to help focus the airstream. Thank you, Lady Opulence. Yes, please share, Miguel. Please share. But I just wanted to kind of like give you that intro first, right off the bat. And then now I'll catch up with the chat a little bit. While you guys can oogle this, you know, I didn't want you guys oogling this without knowing what you guys are looking at. So now you guys know what you're looking at. You guys know what we're about to do. I'm going to say hi to everyone. Hello, Justin. Hello, Nicholas. Hello, Viricosin. Rena. Hello, Michael. Period. Hello, Mateo, Adrian, Lady Opulence, Miguel, Antonio. How are you all doing? You just found my channel yesterday, Rena. Thank you so much. And we hope you know, really just enjoy hanging out with us in this little corner of, you know, my little corner of the internet. We are just nerds here. We're just nerds about flute and music. And that is all we do here. And it is fantastic. It's a great escape. You know, Lord knows there's too much happening in the world, but we're not going to talk about that. Okay. We're just in our little bubble of an escape, okay? Yes, you fit right in, yes. So, Miguel, you're going to New York next month and with your old university's wind ensemble, and you're performing at the Carnegie. Oh my goodness. Have so much fun. Congratulations. That is insane. And you guys are going to go to the Flute Center with your section. Oh my God. Best field trip ever. Holy cow. If you guys haven't already, make sure you contact them to let them know y'all are coming. Because, you know, they love nerding out with everyone too. So they'll be a little bit more prepared if you guys haven't already contacted them. That's fantastic. So Lady Opulence, you got out of the hospital a few days ago. Yes. Okay. Wonderful. But you have a follow-up appointment. Well, we hope that goes well. And you know, thank you so much for letting us know like the update. I know that sometimes it can feel like a lot of pressure to give an update. And so I know how much energy it takes to give an update. So thank you. I want you to know we really appreciate it. We see you, we hear you, and we celebrate your health. Wonderful. That's so great. Okay. Are there any other thingers in here? So there are two Lafins. Interesting, Nicholas. So OG Lafin from Germany for non-US markets, and the Brannen Lafins that Brannen is contracted to make and sell. That would explain so much. Thank you. The fleur and the crown is different. Oh, I see. Understand now. Wonderful. So I guess what it is that I'm gonna guess that I can't get my hands on a German Lafin, unless I go to Europe. So, you know, if ever I find myself in Europe, I might see if I can somehow track down these you know, these head joints and these flutes that I normally don't get to try in the US. Because then I wonder if there's some differences. Interesting. Okay. I love, Nicholas, that you got the three perfectly before I even got to it. Oh, I love it. Y'all are my people. There might be an OG Lafin for sale used from Flute Center. I did look at all of their used Lafins, and I did not read closely enough which ones are from the US or for a US market, which ones are for a non-US market. So, thank you. So there is, okay, sometimes Flute Center has a pre-owned one. That makes sense. Okay, thank you guys. So, I think I had my eye on a US one, like a Brannen Lafin. So I did link for you guys the exact product page for this exact head joint, because this is pre-owned. Let's open that up really quickly. So it's this one. This one is handmade in the USA. So this one I think is the US market one. Yeah. Made in 2020. It was actually made in the same year that I got my Mancke. There you go. Ooh, there's an OG Lafin. Okay, perfect. Let me open that up. Handmade in Germany. Maybe what I can do is ask for this one. Maybe I can ask for this one, ask them to send the Murumatsu. Or I maybe, okay, if no one's buying the Murumatsu, maybe I can hold on to the Murumatsu, send everything else back, and ask them specifically for this one. Then maybe it might fit. Maybe. We will see. There's still a chance that it won't fit. So, interesting. Okay. So I wanted to tell you guys something else that I found during my research. So I found my original head joint, like an exact copy of it that is being sold pre-owned from the Flute Center. So you guys can see that in the video description below. And I noticed that it said that the tube thickness is 0.012 inches, which is very thin wall. So in the States, 0.016 inch tube thickness is usually what's called standard. But as we have seen from the reviews that we've been doing in the last few weeks, some brands, the standard wall thickness is actually 0.014. And so I tried to do a little bit more Googling. And what I discovered is that when I go to the Brannen site and you pick what material you want for your custom flute, it says 10K, 14K, and 18K, I believe. But you don't get to choose your tube thickness. But when I go looking around, exactly, that's what I found out. What Nicholas is saying in the chat here. What I just discovered. I didn't know this, guys. Okay, so this is me just telling y'all, I don't know everything. I literally figured out just from my research for this stream, I was like, oh, I've been playing 0.012 inch this entire time, super thin wall this entire time, and had no idea. I didn't know. Absolutely no idea. So when, like if you look at the whatchamacallit, like the product specs for all three of these, on the Brannen, it specifically says it's 0.012 inch. On the Lafin, it doesn't say. And on the Mancke, it also doesn't say. So, yeah, I learned, I was like, just from this research, I was like, oh, if I am putting 2 and 2 together correctly, 0.012 is standard wall for gold, for 14K minus 10K. Yeah. And then 0.014, as Nicholas is saying, is heavy wall for 14K. 0.016 is standard for silver, and 0.018 is heavy wall for silver. That I knew, but no one had ever told me, and it had never occurred to me to look. I just did the terrible thing of assuming because of the alloy. There you go. 10K is a little thicker than 14K usually. Yeah. So that explains a lot. I had these insane revelations, yesterday when I was researching all of this. I was like, oh, that would explain why I feel that, like, whenever I play like a gold or something, like especially rose gold, I feel like it's more sensitive to me. I often feel that silver kind of has its like a very sort of like predetermined tone color palette, which is something that a lot of people really like. Personally, I like to be able to move around in my tone color. And so I was like, I wonder if like the fact that it's so thin, if that like maybe that is contributing to its sensitivity. I love your nerd dumping. Do not apologize for your nerd dumping. This is a safe space for nerd dumping. Love it. I'm learning. Everyone else is learning. This is fantastic. So yeah, I was like, oh, didn't know this whole time I've been playing 0.012. Had not a single clue, guys. Not a single clue. I just learned. So, see? Everyone here loves the nerd dumping. This is the safe space for us nerds, okay? Like, we're not, this is not a performance channel. This is not a, like, this is not, this channel is for the musicians, not for the audience, okay? So, I mean, if you're watching and you don't even play the flute or anything, that is the highest form of flattery, in my opinion, for my channel. So you're welcome here. Everyone is welcome here. It's just that because this place is a safe space for nerd dumping, a lot of that happens. So, yes. So, anyway, there were many revelations. And, like, I just kind of had this moment like, oh, no wonder when I watch other people play my flute, they often overblow it to Kingdom Come, like it can't actually take a lot of air. Like, you put a bit in there and it just goes. And I was like, So anyway, normally I ask you guys to pick one to start with. However, I think that I have my heart set on the order in which I want to go. I want to go from my original and really give that a really good, like, understanding of how this one plays, particularly on my C foot joint, because I think it might behave a little bit differently on my C foot joint. Just kind of the spacing of, like, how low the low notes sit in the mouth versus how high the high notes sit in the mouth. That vertical kind of movement is probably going to be a little bit squashed. It's going to be a little bit smaller. And then I wanted to do the same thing on my Mancke, because that's my current one. Then I wanted to see what is my what if, like this is alternate universe what if Joanna, and I want to know what are the differences. Right off the bat, I can tell you that the biggest difference is that the Lafin is the heaviest one out of all of these, like insanely heavy. Like, I want to say the Mancke is the lightest one, probably because of the wood. Then the Brannen, and then the Lafin is just crazy heavy. Like, it's very, very top heavy. Like, I have heard that can absolutely affect the tone color, your kind of like the richness of your tone. So let's just see kind of how this works. But that's the order we're going to go in, left to right. All right. So let's head back to this screen. I'm going to put my flute together and then we're going to try this. Yeah. The crown is also heavier. Yeah. Lafin is heaviest because of the 14K. That's true. Yeah, that is true. Because it is, whereas the other one, the Brannen, is a 10K. And then I really think the wood lightens it up a lot for the Mancke. And the crown, I think, is also not as heavy. It feels like the Lafin crown is insanely heavy. Also, I'm really loving this charm. Unsure if the code is still going. Nicholas, you can let everyone know in the chat if the code is still going. This is a special JAF charm that you can get when you buy Cam Voyage polishing cloth and swabbing cloth. And yeah, so basically this will only go to people who know about the JAF code. So he'll know that you watch me. But you can only get this. Yeah, it's still valid. Okay, so you guys go and get it, okay? Get it. Go get your little charm. I legit did not think it was going to be as useful as I am finding it to be. I thought it was just going to be a pretty little charm. That's it. Aesthetics. That's it. No, it actually legit is so much easier to grip your zipper, because you see it, you can put your whole hand around it, weirdly, I was just like, wow, this is so much more convenient. So anyway, there's a practical reason for you guys to get yourself a little charm. Okay? So let's do this. We're going to put on my 10 karat Brannen Modern Cooper. And if you're going to ask me, Joanna, why did you choose the Modern Cooper versus the Modified Cooper? And I'm just going to tell you, 18-year-old Joanna did not do a lot of research and was just like, oh, well, I'll go with modern because I am going to be a modern player. Okay, guys, 18-year-old Joanna had no idea what she was doing. Okay, 18-year-old Joanna chose 10 karat because the cheapest gold. 18-year-old Joanna chose silver mechanism and silver tone holes because it was the cheapest option. All right? 18-year-old Joanna chose modern Cooper because she was like, I'm modern. Yes, I absolutely just revealed my age, but I'm just not going to say what my age is. Y'all can do math. Okay? Y'all can do math. But yes. So, if it helps, I was 19 by the time it arrived to me. Because it takes some time between, putting in your custom order and it coming. So I was 19 by the time it came. All right? So, John, you did the same? Okay, it's not just me. John in the chat did too. Same thing. And it also blew my budget. So I couldn't actually afford it. My family actually could not afford it. I was only teaching like 2 students at the time, something like that. And then like maybe 1. And then my parents very generously like they were like, we really want to show our support. Please let us pay half of this. So they paid 10K. The other 10K I borrowed from a relative. Now, for privacy reasons, I'm just not saying which relative it was, but I did borrow it from a relative. I finally paid them back at the end of 2020. Okay. It took me a long time to do it, but I did it. I paid them back at the end of 2020. It was one of the reasons why I was so hesitant to buy the Mancke, because I wanted to complete my payment of my flute completely before shopping for what I thought was going to be my Lafin Headjoint. But the Mancke came to me apparently, according to online, on April 30th, 2020. And I was like, oh, like I had the money saved up, one, to pay off my flute, but I also had more money saved up for the head joint, just so that I could very comfortably pull the trigger after I made my last payment for my flute. But then I was like, if I let this head joint go, like if I let this head joint out of my house, I don't think it's coming back to me. Like someone else is going to absolutely pick this up because it's a freaking gorgeous head joint, right? So I was like, I have the money. Whether or not I pay for it now or in January of 2021, like, is that really going to make a difference? Because I already have the money saved up and set off to the side, right? So yeah, it's just to kind of, this is reality, guys. I used to be very ashamed of the fact that I had to borrow money to pay for my flute, and that it took me that long to pay it back. All right. It took me 12 years to pay it back. Okay. That is ridiculous. All right. my relatives are very, very generous, very generous, and they didn't ask for the money back for a really long time. They waited until they noticed that I was like, you know, really getting my career going, and they're like, okay, now let's set up a payment plan, right? Like insanely generous, but it's fine. So I this is the reality, guys. This is the reality. This is like, am I proud of the fact that I did it that way? Not really. Like, I'm not really proud of it. It happened though, so I'm not going to cover it up. You know, because I know that a lot of people get very, they're just like, where does the money come from? You know, how are you doing it? How do you do it? How do you, you know, pay for it? My big thing that I tell people is, if the Trevor James copper alloy flute existed when I was in university, I probably would have just straight up built my career on that thing. And that thing is $1,600. It is so much cheaper than this flute. This flute was just under 20,000. Literally $20 under 20,000. So, like, you guys see the huge difference? Like, nowadays you can get a really good flute to get you through university and to get you through the initial, like, I don't know, somewhere between 5 to 10 years when you're building your career. And like during that time, you can absolutely get your career going and save up money to be able to afford something absolutely massive like this, you know? So we did decide we're all the same age. I believe we all decided that we're 55. Yeah. There's a saying that smart people use other people's money to invest and only dumb people use their own money to invest. Well, thank you. I appreciate the reframing. Yeah. Yeah, like exactly, Miguel. Like, I just want to explain to you guys that that was my reality. That's how we pulled it off. And I will be forever, forever grateful to my relative for lending that insane amount of money to me and just not seeing it back for 12 years, you know? It crazy, absolutely crazy. And my parents too, for like, they just really wanted to be like, we support you. This is our way of, like, you know, putting our money where our mouths are saying that we are, right? Like, this is their way of, like, fully demonstrating they're committing to support me, you know? That's how they convinced me to let them do this. Because at first I was kind of like fighting back, because I was like, no, guys, this is ridiculous, you know? Yeah. So, you know, anyway, I think it's time for me to start playing. So let's do this. Let's do this. This absolutely is how I sounded before, right? Like this is like early Joanna, you know? So I think what I'm shocked by is just how forward it plays. It plays very forward. It's making me realize why I had the issues that I had. Because what worked on my old flute, at least from my memory, was really opening up my mouth behind my teeth. And what that did, though, because I wasn't aware of what I was doing, what I suspect that I did was try to get the air really flowing and spinning behind my teeth. But it creates a very swallowed sound on here. So I'll show you guys that. Like, it's not a bad sound, but it sounds a bit swallowed. And it has this feeling of like, I can't push the air fast enough. And so you can't ever really get loud on that type of sound. So you guys can try it too. If you try it on your own flute, if you try kind of like holding a huge space behind your teeth, like, you know, or riff will go like this, yeah. And then try playing like really like, you know, like put a nice airstream through that. You'll find that that space essentially deadens the speed of the air. Like, so the speed of the air just is gone. And like the size of the airstream too, gone. Like, but the way that you get a flute to, you know, play really loud is to make sure that your airstream is quite big, or the air bubble, wherever it's sitting inside your mouth, that air bubble needs to be huge. So this is certainly explaining some of the issues that I had before, but we will continue. Do you hear how that sounds like it has more life and it's a little bit more open? And this is because now I'm really concentrating that air bubble much more forward. It's in fact actually in front of my teeth entirely. I'm just going to do some more noodling around, and then I'll do some harmonics. Yeah, that low note is sitting way higher than I remember. It used to sit right on my lower lip, I think with the B foot joint. I'm curious. Again, this stream is for me. So I'm going to pop my B foot joint on to see if I'm right. So I got my B foot joint. Okay, so essentially what we're going to have now is the original setup for this flute. This is the complete original. So I remember it sitting way lower on my lip. Yeah, I'm right. Yeah, I'm right. It sat lower because of the B foot joint. So if I put the C foot joint back on, there we go. Now it's going to sit higher. Yeah, I think I'm right. That vertical, like, movement, low notes sit higher, high notes sit lower. So the whole thing is just kind of squashed. If I had gotten a C foot joint when I bought this flute, I actually think I would have had a better, like an easier time just playing in general. But I was somewhat, I wasn't peer pressured, but I was sort of trendy fashion pressured into getting a B-foot joint. And the other thing too was that I was actually encountering a lot of low Bs in my music. So, you know, at the time I was like, it makes more sense for me to just have a B-foot joint because you can play a C on a B-foot, but you can't play a B on a C-foot. So I was like, well, I'm not rich enough to get a CB convertible, which Brannen does. So I was like, we'll just go with B because that way I can play both C and B. But yeah, now that I know what it does to how you play, now I'm like, I think I actually would have had a better time. I would have been naturally a lot more open, brighter, have more projection. These were all things that were lacking in my playing when I was in university. I had the most critiques when it came to these three things. But since I was a little bit more muffled, I played very well in chamber music because I just blended right in with everyone else. And in fact, I blended so well that people found it like very awkward and difficult to blend with me because I had such a blendy sound. So, yeah, like I think in terms of playing more soloistic music, like for my solo recitals, divisional recitals, my juries and stuff like that, I think if I had a C-foot joint, that would have already just kind of like, you know, mitigated a lot of those issues that I was having. So this is all very, like, this is all making me very reflective right now about like how I grew up with this. You know, what were the things that I found very difficult. It's very interesting to find out that it's not all in the head joint. It also is in the foot joint. So yeah. Shall we continue? Also, hello, Jem. Welcome to our little nerd corner. I hope all your questions are being answered while I play with this. Interesting. With this setup, I think I have to do that thing where I tilt my head back and then do a major duck face just to make enough room in front of my teeth to be able to blast that high C, I think. I had to really think about it, but I did it. So what's interesting is that with the C foot joint, the placement of the air bubble is actually very close to the altus A15 that we did, you know, a bit back. It's like a mix between the altus and the Louis lot. Weirdly, it's very, I didn't realize how insanely forward this was. I'm going to pop my B foot on and do the same thing. pulling this far too back. Like even on the B foot joint, it opens up the more I push that air bubble forward. It's all in front of my teeth. Okay, you can hear that I can hardly make that high C come out because I need to get that air bubble right here where I'm sticking my finger. It needs to be like in front of my gums. And that is a weird spot to open up. I'm going to try one more time. I don't think I have the space. It wants to be in front of my gums. Yeah, but those low notes sit really low. So I do think I'm correct. I do think I'm correct that the C foot joint just kind of squashes it all. And this is precisely why people often find that low notes are easier and high notes are easier on a C foot joint. Yeah, sits way lower. You can hear that that's coming out a lot more easily. So I will now draw this for you guys. And this time, guys, I have it prepared. So, don't worry, I'll switch back to the other screen with this on so that you guys can still look at the picture, the drawing while I'm playing. Okay, gotta move all of this over so I have room to draw. Okay. All right, here we go. Boop. Okay. So this is this is the Brannen 10K Modern Cooper. I think maybe what I might want to do you know what? To heck with it. We will. Give me a sec, guys. I'm just going to put this here just to, prepare it for later. So we have the 10K. Put that here. Oops. This will be, I need this to be bigger. Okay. So we'll first do the C foot joint. So I'll put here. Actually, that's not low enough. There it goes. C foot. And then for this one, it is B foot. So you guys can kind of see like what I've been working with. So we will do this. Okay. Okay. So the low C, I was very surprised to feel it's like here. It's not like on the lip, it's a little above it. And then 1 octave above that is right next to it. It's like, it's really squashed. The G5 is like here. And then the C. Ooh. Just gonna do this again. Okay. Got it. There is a little bit of backwards movement, so let me change that. Okay. So we have that. Then we have this. So that's C, low C, middle C. G is, I feel like that's a bit dark. G is here. I'm starting to feel it against my teeth. C is here, straight up in front of my front teeth. E is a bit higher than that. The G is the outlier. This one I already knew. It comes out and forward, so it's here. And then B flat is like here. Let's see. Let me see. How far back does it go? It's pretty much right against the teeth. So the B flat is like here. And then the C7 is like, it's here. Like I can just barely get it out. Just barely. But let's label these. So I have to make it a bit smaller. Hope you guys don't mind. So this is C4. And then C5, then this is G5, and then I'll label it over on this side. C6, E6. This one is the outlier, so this one is G6, then it's B flat 6, and then this one is C7. I hope that is relatively clear what's going on there. So this is my old flute, old head joint on a C foot. On a B foot, it is stretched out. So we'll do this again. Yeah, right on the lower lip. So let me. So it's on the lower lip. Yeah, it snaps up really high already. It's already here. And then go a little, goes up. So that's just C, C, G, C. It's a bit above it. That's E already. And then we have G comes out. Okay, I don't think it's my imagination, but it's like out here. And then B flat. So the B flat is like around where the C is before. So it's like here, B flat. And then this is why the C, I can't really get it out. Yeah. So I have to blow extra air to blow that part of my lip open. It's like in front of the gum here. So now if we go back and forth, you guys can see how it's a lot more squashed for the C foot. But before I do that, let me just very quickly label everything. Okay, so we've got C4, C5, G5, C6, E6. This here is G6. That would explain why I could never get my high A's to ping correctly, because I was always just doing it too far back. B flat, 6, and then this is C7. So now if I go back and forth, so this is C foot, and then just look at how it like it's much more spread out vertically on the B foot. Also, I think I made this, Excuse me for making, I don't like that. Good job, me. Okay, let me write that again. And this time, I think we went with 30. Is that right? Oh, I am silly. There we go. B foot. There we go. So C foot, B foot. Oh, there we go. All right. You can see how it like super squashed when it's C foot. Okay. Now I'm curious. Well, this would certainly explain why it never really occurred to me until I tried other flutes that I needed to move my tongue around, because I'm essentially constantly tonguing. It should be essentially at the bottom of my front teeth, maybe between my teeth for just the lower notes. On a B foot joint, it would have been essentially only from the middle of the middle register and lower. I should have tongue between my teeth. And then I think I'm really just tonguing at the bottom of my top front teeth for the rest of the notes. So yeah, it didn't occur to me for a really long time that that you can move your tongue around. This also explains why I did not why my tonguing was so harsh, because I would always tongue. Like, I had gotten used to this from when I like first started the flute, when I was playing a Yamaha 225 SII, and you more like very frequently you're tonguing here where the teeth meets the gums. But where I should have been tonguing is either here for these lower notes, and then for G5 and higher, I should be tonguing here. So that's probably why my tonguing was so like very harsh and thick all the time. I was critiqued for that all the time. And then wherever you tongue, you tend to want to have your air spinning around there. It tends to encourage your air bubble there. So I would essentially start kind of like having my air bubble here all the time for everything, which does a couple of things. If the air bubble is too far back, you get a very kind of swallowed sound, like what I showed you guys earlier. The other thing, and that happened to me all the time, it prevents you from being able to have much dynamic range at all. You can't get really loud. No matter how much air you're pushing into the flute, you just can't get loud if your air bubble is too far back. The other thing too is that you'll notice that this air bubble is way too high for a lot of the range of the flute. And what that does is it causes your sound to have this sort of like, you get fewer harmonics. So it sounds very thin. And it's a great sound actually for jazz, but not so much if you're trying to play very resonant classical music. So my sound was both swallowed and thin as a result. And then, you know, since this is nowhere near high enough and way too far back from my really high notes, my high notes a lot of times just wouldn't come out. So this may have been one of the reasons why when I did a terrible audition with the Daphnis and Chloe excerpt. And you know, I got up to the high G sharp and just went, actually did that. It was really bad. And now I know it's probably because, one, not just because I was trying to prevent myself from coughing, but the other part is that with that air bubble sitting, because the G sharp actually should have been around here where that G6 is. But with my air bubble so high and far back, like that means that basically no air is coming actually this way. All of my air is going up here. and then kind of coming down, which misses this. That it's out of it misses that point. So yeah, this certainly explains why I had the issues that I had. So you can see that if we go here to the C foot, now if I had most of my air here, you can see how it wouldn't have as much of a terrible influence on the rest of this. I think it still would not be as nice as it could be. But at least the range is not as big, right? So yeah, I definitely should have tongued lower down my teeth back then. So yeah. Okay, I'm curious about some you know, tone color differences now. I'm just gonna do a little bit of it, but we'll go back here and then we will go to, just have this open. There we go. Just so you guys can stare at it while we're doing this. But I am currently on the B foot, so I'll put the B foot up. Okay. Let's see what I needed to do. No wonder I had so many problems making the air bubble, like going loud, with like, because when you go loud, you want it to have a lot of resonance. You don't want it to just sound like you're forcing a ton of air through. But the problem was that when I played high, it would just sound like I'm just putting a ton of air in without actually making the sound actually bigger and more resonant. The issue is because it is so far forward in the mouth. So if you look here, let's pick E6, okay? So if we pick E6, the way that this head joint works is you play with the size of the air bubble if you're trying to go loud or go softer. So if you're trying to go louder, the whole air bubble needs to get bigger. If you're trying to play softer, the whole air bubble needs to get smaller. Now, this is not an issue if it is this low, because I have all this, like look at all this space here that I have to play with, right? So since I have all that space to play with, if I made my like C5 bigger, right, then the whole air bubble is like this big instead, right? And no problem. Now, oops. Give me a sec, guys. The problem we're going to have is when I get up here and I want to make this air bubble big. Right here is the problem. My lip doesn't actually want to kind of duck face out that far in order to do it. So I've actually, like, just the shape of my own lips has essentially cut off the amount of space that I actually need to make the note huge and resonant and not just put a ton of air in. Interesting. So I can see now that if we're looking here, I'm only going to get this problem, like, the C6, not too bad. I think it's by E6 I might start to have this problem right here. Yeah, I think that's where I might start to have the problem. But I get that problem much lower here, like really kind of from the upper end of the middle register. I'm already starting to have this problem right here. So I do want to try it on the C foot and see if the same thing is happening. Okay, so I'll switch over to the C foot now. Okay. since it's sitting lower, I have a little bit more space kind of starting to come out from under my my top lip, that is. Like from underneath the top lip, I can sort of like use my Airstream to sort of force my lip to kind of move out of the way a little bit. So it is a little bit easier. Just a bit easier. But I mean, the problem still persists. So interesting. I'm going to play around with, that's dynamics, but tone color. Let's see. It's much easier to go wide and flat because I have, I don't have to make the air bubble huge, so it doesn't have to come forward in the lip. It can just kind of like widen out from the sides. So fairly easy to do that. We're playing with the air bubble shape in order to do that. Wide and flat for rich tone. Tall and narrow for a very kind of like hollow, woodsy, thin sort of tone. Noticeably harder to get that true hollow tone, thin hollow tone for the higher notes, and it's because I don't have a lot of space up there. Okay, interesting. I wonder if the Mancke is actually a little bit slightly further back than this, and maybe that's why I have more room to play with. That's my current thinking right now. Very briefly, I just want to try. I think it's the same thing's going to happen on the B foot for tone color. So B foot. There it is. I think you guys want to look at my head joints. There we go. Well, it's getting a little harder to get that rich tone now that that higher B is sitting even higher. I don't actually have as much space the higher I go. That would certainly explain why all my high notes just did not get that nice rich resonance that I always wanted. So I didn't have space up there. Interesting. Okay. So I'm just going to write a few points so I somewhat remember what we talked about here. Very forward. Everything in front of teeth. And then mostly sits quite high. I think that's the big takeaway here. Air bubble needs space to get larger, which I don't have for high notes in front of top teeth. Okay. Interesting. Tongue needs to be like down or between teeth or bottom of top teeth. Okay. Wow, that's super interesting. Okay. I'm going to I think switch to the C foot. Let's try a little bit of Genshin. All right, let's swap that. too low. Okay, I think I keep putting the low notes too low, and then the like the bottom half of the middle register, I keep shoving it way too high. So we're going to play just a little bit of Rapid as Wildfires. You know, once my computer thinks a little bit about it. There it is. Okay, so just a little bit. I think I need to keep staring at my my drawing though. Okay. Right there. You hear that? I don't have a lot of space up there. Huh. To be very conscious of where I was putting the air bubble. Otherwise I can really hear when it just sort of like disappears, like the resonance just completely disappears. But yeah, I'm really noticing how much cleaner the articulation sounds when I tongue a little bit lower. So I think all this time I've been tonguing way too high in my mouth, like way too high. And I'd just gotten used to it. The placement of the middle register E, weirdly, if you know exactly where that air bubble wants to be, it's weirdly very stable. So I'm starting to think that I just had no idea where my middle register E was this entire time. But when I was concentrating on keeping that air bubble exactly where that middle register E wants to be, it actually just didn't budge, which I was very, very surprised with. Yeah, I am noticing that in general, yeah, like I really have to be very conscious of giving a lot of space in front of my top teeth for those high notes to speak. And it is a little uncomfortable. It's actually not a little, it's quite uncomfortable. And it certainly explains why I had so many problems in the third register for a very long time. I've always had trouble getting those high notes to ping and just have that really nice, very pingy kind of sound. So now we're going to switch over to my current one, which is the Mancke. But I do need to do a quick little swab because I'm already slobbering all over myself. Good job, me. Okay, so we're going to do this. I'm going to see if it makes sense to like do like that another crazy comparison between my C foot and B foot. The reason I did it with the B foot on the 10K Brannen Modern Cooper is because I was very curious why I had all the issues that I had when I was in university. And I feel like I now know why. All my high notes just never had good resonance. My tonguing was always very muddy and very swallowed, very thumpy. Yeah, now I know why. It's very interesting. Okay, so now we're going to be looking at here the Mancke. So let's get all this going. Here we've got Mancke 14K, or Mancke 14K Mopane. Everything that is not Mopane is 14K on this thing. So I'm just going to keep it nice and, short and easy to read here. Okay. And then here we've got, so this is going to be, there we go. We'll do this. And here, this is the Mancke 14K Mopane. Okay, cool. Yes, exactly. The Cork, the Cork plate, I believe is what it's called. Cork reflector, also, I have heard that term too. Riser, crown, yeah, all 14K. Yeah. So, Chance, I hope you're this all making a little bit more sense to you. It's my awful side profile of a mouth. All right. Have a good appointment, Lady Opulence. Thank you so much for dropping by. Ooh, that made me very, very thirsty. Okay. So now I'm curious how this is going to go. Very, very curious. Let's see. Hey. Okay, that feels very natural to me and is very resonant. And I'm like, where am I actually doing it? Because I think this is the spot that I want it to be when I play every other head joint. And then that's how I find out if I need to, move forward or move back or something like that. Okay. Interesting. Oh, that's so interesting. That's so interesting. This is something that I have often told my students, that when you play a flute that matches you very well, one of the reasons why I have suspected that it matches you very well is because every single spot where your air bubble needs to be, it is touching against something. So if it's touching against like your lip, your teeth, behind your teeth, or against the roof of your mouth, or something like that, like it's making contact with something. If it's making contact with something, it means you can feel it. If you can feel it, it is replicable. If it is replicable, it is predictable. If it is predictable, then you've got consistency. And if you've got consistency, then that means you can make yourself sound good all the freaking time. So this so far is actually the only head joint I have tried where I can absolutely say that the air bubble touches some part of my mouth, no matter where I have to move it. And I was right. The high notes are now behind the teeth. So, okay, I'm doing this again. Oh man, I just really love that. It just feels really good. Okay. I need to stop getting distracted by how nice it feels. Okay, let's start mapping. So C is here, and it's actually quite big. One octave behind it still makes contact with the lip. It's just kind of like slightly higher, but still makes contact with the lower lip. The G snaps up. It's like here. It's so much more comfortable. So for me, it's here. That C is right there. The E is here. G is still out. The G is still the outlier, but now the G is right up against the lower lip. Oh, sorry. It's the bottom of the top lip. Like I feel it right there. So I can just aim for right there. So B flat is where the teeth meets the gums, but I do not have to lift my soft palate. I do need to lift my soft palate a little bit for the highest one. So the highest one, I have to lift it a tiny bit. It's like right there. Okay. So I'm going to label this for you guys. So we've got here C4, then C5, then G5. Now you guys know how I play. This is how I prefer to play. E6. This one is G6. This certainly explains why I keep missing my middle register E, because the middle register E, that one is in a little bit of a no man's land, which I'm now curious about, actually. So I know now where the E should sit. The E5 should probably sit, oops. C7. There we go. So E5 should probably be around here. Around there. Now I'm curious. Now that I know where that middle register E needs to sit, now I'm not missing any of them. Interesting. Okay. So now you guys can see why this suddenly sounds a lot better on me. Because as I was saying, like the issues that I had with the 10K Modern Cooper for my mouth. So you can see how everything is in front of the teeth for the high register. And then suddenly now everything is behind the teeth for middle register and above. And that is so much more comfortable to me. My tongue loves to tongue like where the teeth meets the gums and lower. So mostly around the front teeth and then like a little bit higher. And that sounds good with because the air bubble wants to be around that spot for middle register and above. I think I can probably afford to tongue between my teeth a little bit more for the lower notes. And that can, that can really kind of like lighten them up and crisp them up a little bit more. But yeah, so, okay. I do know for a fact that on this flute, the kind of tone color and the dynamics are reliant on the size and the shape of the air bubble. So same thing, air bubble needs to be big for loud, small for soft, and then the air bubble needs to be wide and flat for richer notes, and then tall and narrow for thinner notes. And now you can see, because it's now behind my teeth, I now have a lot more room for the air bubble because it no longer has to be in front of my teeth. So like I can open up, like even though it is against my teeth, I can feel that I can open up. Like you can also kind of like add a little bit more space in front of the teeth too. And I find that absolutely works. So let's try a bit of that. Yeah, it's just I have so much room to play with now. I don't have to like really like duck face it out to get enough space in front of the teeth. That's super interesting. Yeah, I feel what I was searching for with the Brannen. Exactly. And it just works on this. So like um essentially the way I was playing causing all of the issues that I had on the modern Cooper. Um I basically could just play like that but have a much crisper sound with a lot more control over my dynamics, my tone color, just because I have more space now to play around with the air bubble, and I'm putting the air bubble in the right spot now too. Is actually kind of wild. So let's play a little bit of the Genshin main theme. Okay, I do think that I'm still used to like snapping my um like my C5 here in this little diagram. I'm snapping it way too high every single time. So like that entire last two phrases of this actually can, like, my air bubble can mostly stay in the same spot even though I'm kind of going it up into the higher end of the low register. And that is like an interesting concept to me, that I can just keep it low. Yeah, that whole register is actually very close to each other. Like even like that entire octave is all very close to each other. So I don't actually have to make an insane change to go down to the low notes, but my brain is telling me I need to. But I wonder again, it's probably because I had to do more of that on the B foot. So we're just going to try it. I don't think I'm going to do the full diagram, but this is just to confirm my suspicion. I was right. Yeah. So I am currently still not used to keeping everything relatively in the same spot with the C-foot joint. Like I have to sort of fight my instinct to like dig low. Okay, so I don't actually have to do that much adjustment at all for the entire low register, and I am not used to that. Like, I immediately like shove everything much more forward and much lower the moment I get into those low notes because I've like trained myself into it. But now I realize that I don't have to. So that's homework for me. Okay. So let's write a few notes here just for me to kind of remember. So air bubble always makes contact with some place in the mouth, which makes it so much more predictable. High notes now behind the teeth, which is exactly what my body wants. Don't need to adjust as much for lowest notes on C-foot. Much more space now to play with shape of air bubble. That's the big key thing, like one of the big key things. But the other one is that just now all of the air bubble is just all behind the teeth now. Cool. Yeah. It sounds like I'm working too hard on the C-foot. That's exactly it. And the way that I'm working too hard on the C-foot is that I'm just kind of like shoving that air bubble too low and too forward. It basically doesn't have to move. Like you can see how close, like if you look at just how close the C4 is to the C5, they're like, it's like right next to each other. Like essentially I'm not moving it. So yes, and I also might be absolutely putting way too much air into the C-foot. 100%. I agree with you. So I do have to kind of like, I do no longer need to feel like I have to go into my flute, you know? So, okay. Now, I think for fun, it might be good for me to try a bit of Rapid as Wildfires with this setup. low. So I have my work cut out for me. Don't go as low. Better. I know what I need to do, but I need to actually train myself into it. So, and weirdly, I would actually be training myself into an easier way of playing because it's less movement. If it's less movement, you just don't have to work as hard. So, but still got to train myself into it. Okay. All right. So now it's time to find out what my what if is, because I do still have my drawing from last week, but like I'm going to do it again and compare it and see if I maintain the same thing or at least a very, very similar setup. So, okay, I have that open to compare later. So let's do this now. This is So this one is going to be the Lafin 14K with wings. Okay, so we're going to try that first before I look at last week's and see if I come up with the same thing. So, okay, right. We need to label this as the Lafin 14K with wings. Oh, this is very revealing to me. Like very, very revealing. Like it's like, oh, that's why I had all the problems I had. Less movement equals more efficiency. Yeah, exactly. Red Bull gives you wings. Lafin gives you wings. Yeah. So I think ultimately I'm going to have a much better time with the C-foot configuration. It's just, I'm just not used to it. So I need to do, now that I know exactly where those low notes sit though, I have a much, the target practice is going to be a lot more efficient now, when I do all that low note practice. I'm thinking of doing, revisiting the Moïse de la Sonorité page 10. So if any of you guys have done that before, you'll know what I mean. It's sort of like a never-ending exercise where you're essentially learning to like really control those low notes. Okay, very heavy. Very, very top heavy. Ooh, there we go. So maybe the reason why this Lafin fits so beautifully into my Brannen is because it probably was made to fit a Brannen. That's what I'm really realizing here. Okay, so let's see if I come up with the same thing as last week. Here we go. Yeah, very heavy. Wow. Okay. Okay, the similarity with the 10K with the modern Cooper it's quite similar. It sits a lot higher than the Mancke. So the Mancke really sits. It like actually I can feel it sitting on the lower lip. But you see how this is higher? It's like kind of off of the bottom lip. Like I'm really feeling that right now with this one. Okay. So, whoops. Whoopsies. There we go. All right. So the low C is already here. It's kind of in no man's land for me, which may not be a good thing for me. Then the C above it is already here. Whereas on the Mancke, that's the G5. So it snaps up a lot faster on this one. It's in front of the tooth. It's like here. Okay. Oops. It feels like it's like this. Like for some reason it can go into my tooth. I don't know how else to explain it. Oh, that's why. Whoops. I understand. Wah! It is because it's now here. So this is like a combo. I think this is a combo. Okay, the other one's a little higher. I wasn't imagining it. I thought I was, so I put it lower, but no, it is actually like here. Then here. Yeah, it's a combo. Okay. So C, C, G, C, E is here. But I don't feel like I need to lift my soft palate for this. It's here. Very interesting. Very interesting. The G is not like, again, it's like here. I don't need to lift my soft lip. Okay, this one I need to lift my soft palate. It's like here. Oh. I thought there was an outlier. No. Okay, what's really weird is that this is very forgiving. I don't know if it's because of the wings, but it's very forgiving. If you decide to play the E and the G, if you decide to play it out here, it doesn't sound that bad. Like, it sounds almost indistinguishable, which is very, very strange. That's very strange to me. I don't think this is what I drew last time. The B flat. The B flat is the one. The B flat's the one. The B flat's the one. The B flat. The B flat wants to be here. And then the C is up here. Yeah, the B flat's way more open, low and forward, rather than up there. It still sounds, but it's not as open. Woo! Okay, yeah, really have to lift the soft palate for that. Okay, now I'm curious. Did I draw relatively the same thing as last time? Almost. I put the G and the C behind the teeth last time. Okay. I'm going to try that, see if how that sounds. To decide where the C7 wants to be. It seems split on both. I put the C7 where I put the B flat this time. It's like nearly the same, but not quite. Agree more with what I did this time. It's close. close to what I did last time, but like when I compare the two, so I put C6 behind the teeth last time and G5 actually a little bit behind the teeth, but I just tried it now and that's too far back. Like I don't get that really nice open quality to it. So let me label these for you guys. Okay, so C4. So yeah, I'm not infallible, guys. C6, and this is E6, G6, B flat. I will say that last time I felt really rushed, whereas this time I have a lot more time. So I'm just going to say that I agree with this a little bit more this time. Ooh, silicone wings. Interesting. The wings make it more forgiving. Maybe that's why I'm like, can't decide where I want to put these, you know? Regardless, this is very clearly a combo. It is a combo between the modern Cooper. This is the modern Cooper. This is the Mancke. And then you can see that this one is like essentially the lower notes. So from, yeah, it's lower, but it like the lowest register feels very similar. Lowest register feels very similar. And then from the middle register and above, it is kind of like my Mancke. So I think, like, look at that. It just basically the Lafin is just higher. It's higher in the mouth than the Mancke. So interesting. I'm gonna play around with some tone color stuff. Hello, Amir. Yeah, so due to the placement of the air bubble, you can hear I get a lot more, like, naturally I get a lot more kind of like dynamic range, and I get a lot more kind of tone color range because I can actually, like, I have space for the air bubble now. So I think that if I had chosen the Lafin, I also would have been like, oh my God, this is like so much better. Like I can finally actually do things. I can make the high notes ping because, you know, with where they're placed, I can absolutely make them ping. But they do ride higher in the mouth than the Mancke does. So let's do more tone color stuff. I will say that this has a much more pingy tone, which I think works way better in like in a orchestra. Also, it like if I was playing first flute or something, like I think this would be a lot more appropriate of a sound, like that has that super pingy sound, than the Mancke. The Mancke, I think, has like that wooden edge doesn't make for a, like, you know, like a first flute sound as much. Now I don't really like playing first flute anyway, so but like soloistically though, I feel like this one is more soloistic. So like we can play a bit of Genshin too. Okay, I noticed this last week too, but the Lafin takes a lot more air, and I wonder if it's because of the wings too. That like, it encourages you to put more air so that it can funnel it down for you. That's much more classical sound, you know? But I am noticing, because my Mancke is also 14K. So I am noticing this is taking more air than the Mancke. For sure. Like, for sure, this takes more air than the Mancke. It's very interesting. But I think it's more appropriate if you're playing, like, soloistically, right? Because if you're playing soloistically, you're kind of, like, throwing yourself more into the music, you know? So, like, I feel like it would go with that kind of performance, you know? It must be the heavier crown. Yeah, because that is the very like noticeable difference. I'm at least I'm noticing, like, from being the one handling these. I'm like, woo, that's heavy up there, you know? Okay, I am noticing I'm not able to get as much of that. There's like a very specific folksy sound that I kind of look for to be able to produce. Um, I'm going to try a totally different tune and see how it goes. Yeah, a lot of you guys are saying that like you're really liking the low notes on this. It does give a very rich low note, which I feel like would do a really good job cutting through an orchestra, you know? So definitely this is like if Joanna had like if my alternate universe version was a soloist, I think like a classical soloist, I think this would be me. You know, because like, you know, let's do some classics. Sorry. Forgot some of the notes. Right? Whereas now, because now you've heard me do something a little bit more folky, and then now you've also heard me do something a little bit more like classical, right? So we're gonna go back to the Mancke. So we'll do the folky one again. It's also from Genshin. Here we go. I hope you guys can hear what I mean. This one can really get that like folky sound through. Right? It just kind of works. So now, though, I'm going to play Mozart. You guys can hear how, like, I actually cannot get the same ping on this one. Now, whether or not that's a good or a bad thing is entirely preference at this point. So, just for you guys to keep in mind. So weirdly, the thought that popped into my mind was that it sounds like a cross between modern flute and, like, because it has that like woodsy edge to it, you can almost kind of imagine a classical era flute playing it, you know? So it feels more classical. I think it's because of that edge. But the thing is, like, if you are playing this with like a full modern orchestra, like, at a venue and everything, like a big venue, I don't know if this would come across, right? Like, this is more like if I played it with like chamber orchestra in like a small venue, right? Chamber orchestra, small venue. This would be great because then this wood sound would actually cut through, right? Whereas if it's like a huge, like big concert hall, like we're talking big concert hall, okay? And like full orchestra, I don't know if this would cut it. Just being real with you guys. I don't know if this would cut it. Now, am I the type of person who would want to perform something like that? No. I don't. I love it when other people do it. It's fantastic when other people do it, but my God, I do not want to. I don't know why. I just don't really have an interest. Now, someone mentioned, I think it was Sean, like Sean the flutist, Sean. So he mentioned, I think a while ago, he was like, if you ever perform the E-Bear, you can consider asking a music school and doing a chamber orchestra version of it. And then I was like, yes, I would do that. 100%. Yes, I would do that. Right? And I'm like, because for me, the prospect of performing with like a professional full orchestra and then like with like huge venue, no, it doesn't really float my boat, you know? Like to me, it's just terror. It's full on terror. I don't want to do it. But a chamber orchestra, especially when the chamber orchestra is like, you know, students, you know, and like, you know, you get to give this experience to students, you know, and also it's a smaller group, which means I'm probably going to be in a smaller, like a recital hall, you know? I like recital halls. I don't know. There's something very intimate about them. This, you know, like I feel like that is the perfect size for me to sort of like throw my presence out and like do my thing. And then like, you know, this woodsy sound would absolutely cut through in a recital hall, but not a concert hall. Like a concert hall, I'm like, oh, no. I don't think, but the Lafin would be amazing in a concert hall. I think in a concert hall, is this, right? Yeah, I'm a chamber player. I think I've always been a chamber player. That's what really has always, I think, like lit that sort of like passion, that like the feeling of passion and the feeling of excitement in me, and like the slight obsessiveness, you know? Chamber playing does that for me. Orchestra playing is more like, okay, yeah, this is like, it's fun, but at the same time, it's not, you know what I mean? You know how like you can do something and it's fun, but it doesn't like really light that fire under you. You know what I mean? Chamber music does that to me, not so much orchestral and soloistic stuff. So, yeah. Oh my gosh, yes, the Bach Suite in B minor. Actually, Bach anything. Like, I remember the first time I tried this, I think one of the first pieces that I took out was the Bach B minor sonata. That on this is, So, you know, we've done some Mozart now. We've done some folky things. I now want to, let's do some more kind of between Mancke, like current Joanna and alternate universe Joanna. All right. So let's write some notes. So, what we have here is concert, concerto soloist, alternate Joe. Okay. Is what we're working with here. So the map of the air bubble, so I'll call it the air bubble map, equals combo of the Brannen Modern Cooper and Mancke, which is a very interesting concept to me, that this is kind of like an in-between. And then let's see, gets that really nice pingy sound. So pingy, beefy sound, which is so perfect for soloistic stuff, classical stuff, romantic stuff, you know? This is like big hall version of my playing, essentially. So let's do a little bit of Bach. Let's do, since we're on the Mancke right now, let's start with the Mancke, but let's do just the beginning of the Bach B minor sonata. So there's a nice clean version here on flute tunes. So we'll go to, let's see, B minor sonata. Yes. I love, this is my favorite sonata. I don't know, like, because I know that some of you guys are new to this channel. This is my favorite Bach sonata. It's very long, very meandering, but like it's weirdly very chromatic. The harmonies are really interesting. It just, I love it. Okay, so I think the Mancke is better on this one, because you get that woodsy sort of sound to it. So let's try a bit, just a bit of the beginning. Place to stop. So you guys can hear that like woodsy kind of tone coming through, right? So I'm now, was this the first Bach sonata that you played? Wow, what a banger to start with. Oh my god. But let's try with the Lafin now. Thing. Like, it's beautiful. And I forgot to change this to say Lafin. But it's gorgeous. I love it. But it doesn't have that, like, really soulful, woody edge to it. You know? So yeah. Am I'm probably not saying her name right. Magali Mosnier? Mosnier? Oh, wonderful. Also does no vibrato. Yeah. That's why you guys can hear me not doing vibrato too, because vibrato just doesn't work on this at all. It just makes it too heavy, you know, and it destroys the flow and the momentum. Because like if you have too much vibrato, it will actually make the piece sound bogged down, you know. So yeah, I never really feel like I can put vibrato in most of Bach. CPE Bach, I feel like I can get away with a little bit, you know, in the solo, the sonata for solo flute. Yeah, sounds very weird. Ah, love it, so good. So you guys can hear, right? I think it still sounds great on the Lafin, but I just like that little bit of that, like that very soulful woodiness, you know. I can't get enough of that soulful woodiness. Just it's so good. Okay, so we've done classical, we've done Baroque. Let's do a little bit of romantic. What's a good one that's not Chaminade? Do you guys have a good one for me that's not Chaminade? Because Chaminade just immediately gets DMCA'd. Let me know if you guys have an idea. Cantabile presto. Okay, sounds good. So let me find that really quick. Okay. Okay. Cantabile presto. Okay. I think I'm just gonna make a prediction here. Okay. I think that what's going to happen here is that it is going to sound really good on both. It is, I think, probably down to your venue, and you're talking about the UNESCO, right? The UNESCO Cantabile presto. Do I have my, yes, good. I've got my, okay, great. So I got my pedal going here, perfect. Okay. I think it will sound more traditional on the Lafin. So more traditional, but when I play with the Mancke, I think it's going to give it a completely different spin. That's what I think. So I think it's down to a preference thing here. Let's do, just like, I'm going to do the opening, a little bit of the opening, and then we'll skip and do a little bit of some of the faster stuff too. Okay. Oh gosh, I'm not used to, like, I'm putting it way too low. Also, thank you for the reminder. Let me swap my flute. It's not down your alley, it's down your boulevard. I love that. Okay. There we go. Let's try. Let me review where the C sits. Okay. enjoy the goofy gooberness. Please don't stop. Please. Okay. It, to me, sounds pretty traditional, I would say. However, you guys can hear how I'm not used to where to put the low notes, right? So I had to kind of imagine I was putting them more so underneath my top lip, not above my bottom lip. Like it kind of made it so they would ride a little higher. So I'm just not used to that, but you guys can hear the potential, right? So if I do a little bit of the presto. Gosh. Oh gosh. We'll stop there. Okay. Ooh, yeah. You guys can really hear how I'm not comfortable with where the low notes needs to sit. So, I think ultimately I would have a problem with being able to like replicate where those low notes needs to sit because they're kind of off. They're kind of above my bottom lip. So they're sort of off of it, which means that it's not really touching anything. So I could see that being a potential issue for me if I actually bought this before. That would be something that I would absolutely have to like really practice, like target practice. Because I can't actually feel it against anything. But you guys can hear how that sounds fairly like traditional, right? It has a lovely roundness to the sound, rich, soloistic, you know. So now we're going to switch the Mancke. And then do the same thing. Go back to the top. Now, first off, you will hear that I am a lot more comfortable. Okay, this is the first thing. All right, now ignore the fact that I sound a lot more comfortable and just listen to the like color. Okay, you're going to like what I think that I end up doing a lot and that I personally feel is very liberating for me. Is that like the extra wood edge kind of I feel allows me to sort of put my personal spin on things. Like, I am big fan of like, the Chinese flute sound, and I am by heritage Chinese. And so I kind of like to put my Chinese heritage spin on everything I play because it is going through my lens, right? So I feel like I can dig into a part of me that's a lot more authentic when I put a woodsy spin on things. So you'll see what I mean. Like you'll see that I will naturally start playing a little bit more like how I would probably like Chinese music. So let's do this. My poor pinky. It's slightly inflamed here. So ignore that. Okay, one more time. So it was subtle, but could you guys hear how I was a little bit more like, there's something a little bit more personal about how I mess with the dynamics, the push and pull, and the vibrato. Like on this head joint, it's like suddenly I feel like I can do whatever I want. Like it just kind of loosens me up because it's like the timbre goes with the kind of vibrato that I love to play with. Yeah, I feel like it sounds weird when I do it on a full metal head joint. So I'll just show that to you guys really, really quickly. I will attempt to do the same kind of like, you know, playing around with the vibrato. Okay. You see what I mean? It sounds weird. like if you play too much with the vibrato, I immediately pull back. Like I really don't want to play with that crazy folky kind of vibrato when I'm on a full metal head joint. Yeah. So like again, I'll do the same spot. Love that slow vibrato. It's very like, there's a lot of pathos in it. And I can't do it on a head joint that doesn't have wood on it because it sounds weird. As Amir is saying is agreeing in the chat. It sounds weird, right? But if you have that like woodsy edge around it, like suddenly it just works, you know? Like, it sounds so good. But yeah, like on especially on the wooden, you know, the wooden lip plate, I agree with Nicholas. I am way less obsessed with getting that clear, pure tone because the clear, pure tone sounds weird on this, which I can show you guys now too. You guys hear what I mean? Like, it's like, I now understand why my students who have tried this exact head joint, why they tell me they don't like it. I finally get it. I just understood it now. Because the most common thing that my students tell me is that this head joint, it's like it just wants to do its own thing. Like they can't, it's just, like it just complete out of control. There's like, it's like it's going all over the place. Like the tone, it just doesn't want to stay in the pure sound. It doesn't want to stay in there. So when you try to keep it into that pure sound, you get this weird, did you guys hear that? Like it was like a weird kind of like as if I was, you know, on, like on like balancing really weird on like a rope, just kind of like that. I get it now. Yeah, I've had multiple students try this head joint because they wanted to sound like me, and they were like, we hate it. sorry, Joe, but we hate it. And yeah, you've been told you don't sound woody enough on your Mancke. Maybe it's because you just play it so well. You know? Yeah. So yes. Amir is absolutely correct. It is like vibrato used in the Baroque period. It's really slow instead of like a trilly one. That's the type of vibrato. I love that type of vibrato. Cannot make it work on a metal head joint. Cannot make it work. It sounds weird. It sounds wrong. You know, you have to have that like woody edge around the sound in order for it to sound right. You focus your sound so much where it doesn't sound woody. But did you hear how mine, if you focus the sound? So like, you know, I'm curious to know what your thoughts are if you one day come across this exact Mancke head joint. So, because so far, like my students have told me, they're like, it's like the thing just wants to go off the rails, you know, on its own. Like you can't control it. Like it's just completely and utterly uncontrollable. And yeah, I just noticed now, if I was really going for that very pure, crystal clean sound, like that crystal clean, what's I'm gonna call it, like classical sound, it doesn't want to stay in it. It just does not want to stay in that sound. But anyway, we do need to do a little bit of the fast part. So let's do that. I keep doing an extra one up there. Sorry, guys. Doesn't want to move. Not that my pinky had to move there. Yay. Yeah, I definitely still need to practice moving my low C back up again. I can definitely feel like I still just immediately land way too low. Let's try it again. That last low C, I'm getting there, guys. I'm getting there. But you guys notice that, like, I actually don't think this head joint works as well on this. Like, I would have to start to kind of like really dissect this to see what kind of like almost folky edge I can give it. So I need to play a little bit more with a little bit more push and pull, like, you know, rubato. I need to, I think, play a little bit more with some of these like funky little hairpin dynamics that I think will give it a little bit more character. And I think I need to play with the vibrato here and there. So I'm kind of curious. I'm going to give it a third go and see what sort of folky edge I can give it. Right there. Okay, that worked. Okay. I should have done that in the previous phrase, but that worked right there. So I just need to make it way more sassy. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You guys hear, like, I have to actually, like, this head joint actually forces me to put a different spin on this. So, like, I need to actually do a little bit more push and pull. Like, I have to almost kind of sound like I'm making it up. Like, I have to actually sound like I'm improvising, which has a lot of natural push and pull for it to sound natural with this kind of woody edge around it. So I think that's why I like this so much, because I like being able to do that. Like, that, to me, I feel very restricted, actually, from like using a full metal. If I use full metal, when I do those push and pulls, it sounds wrong. You know? Yeah. Interesting, Nicholas. So you said that when Alice Dade, right, tried your head joint, she said it felt very hard to control. And if she were to get the head joint, she would work on getting rid of the edge of the wood. Yeah. I think it's exactly what we're describing here right now. It's like, do you like the fact that, because the wood gives you way more leeway. Like you can go crazy with your vibrato, your rubato, your like, just like, you know, the like, you can do a lot more nuances. Like, you're not as precise, and you're actually not supposed to be precise. If you try to be insanely precise, with a wood sound, like a wood edge to your sound, you'll just feel like you can never control it. It just sounds completely uncontrollable, and it sounds like you're constantly falling off the rails. Yeah. Yeah. Way less resistant than Full Metal Head Joint. Yes. Completely agree with that. Yeah. So, let's do, just to kind of end things off, let's do the beginning of the E-Bear. You know, let's get our 20th century in. I am curious, at least, to see how the opening sounds on the Lafin. So let's do this. Okay, on the Lafin. Perfect. E-Bear. Yeah, so this is making me really, like, reflect on some things, which is that I was finding that I constantly felt that the E-Bear felt like it was hard to control. Like, the musicality of it, I just felt like it was going all over the place. And then I had the inspiration one day where I was like, I need to stop playing this, you know, as if I'm a European, because I'm not. You know, I think my Chinese heritage is a little bit too strong. So I was like, I had the inspiration one day where I was like, what if I just played the e-bear like it was written for a Chinese flute, for a dizi? And I was like, as soon as I thought of doing it that way, everything worked. And I wonder if what actually happened is what we're talking about right now. That's why I'm curious to see how this is going to go now with this head joint, with the Lafin. Because now I'm like, if I'm going for that super precise precision sound, is it actually going to work now on the Lafin? Right? Interesting. So like maybe my head joint actually influenced me to go down this interpretation, as you're saying, this like interpretation that's like from my heritage, like through the lens of my heritage, right? But maybe I wouldn't feel that so much, or feel the need to do that so much, if I was on this. Let's see. Precise. That is precise. That sounds a lot more like in my head what I was actually going for the longest time. Like I was going for that super precise sound. So let's keep going. We'll do the whole page, the whole first page. There we go. Okay. Yep. This is 100% solo, like concerto soloist. Yeah, that worked. That worked. Sorry for the mistakes, guys. I was a little bit distracted, actually, by how it sounded. I was like, this is it. This is it. This was the sound that I've been going for. So now I am going to switch to the Mancke. Now I'm going to be like, I'm going to, on purpose, play this with like a Chinese edge to it, like kind of folk edge to it. Now I can do it with more conviction, because now I'm like, I think that's actually what the head joint demands. The head joint demands a much more like folk kind of interpretation. Okay. So let's do this. Running with them as I go. We're gonna keep going, but I might revisit this beginning again. yeah, it works so much better if I allow myself rubato. If I don't allow myself rubato, it almost kind of feels like the flute runs away from me. So I want to try more of that rubato in the beginning. Oh gosh. Way better. Way better. Yeah, like if I allow myself that rubato, it just works. If I really try to go like super precise, doesn't work. That's so interesting. No wonder. I actually do have to play with way more rubato. Pedal to the metal. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I really have to just like let myself go. Like I absolutely have to play with loosey-goosey rubato. Okay, not that loosey-goosey, okay, guys? Like you still need to keep with the, with the orchestra and stuff like that and like with the general pacing, but like within the big beats or within the measure, you're allowed push and pull. Let it be, let it be, let it be. Oh. Huh. This answers so many questions as us, because, the biggest issue that I have had with the Iber is that I feel like I cannot control it. But I think that was the problem. The problem was that I was trying to control it. Like I was trying to make it sound like a metal flute, like a completely metal flute, but I'm playing a flute that is not a completely metal flute. Interesting. Okay. Now, I'm of the opinion, I personally really like the more rubato, the more playful, the more sassy, I'm personally a bigger fan of that, but I wasn't giving myself the permission to play that way because I'm like, oh, this is such a big piece. I have to play it like everyone else does. I have to play it, the right way. I have to play it whatever is traditional, the traditional way. Yeah, let it be a diva and don't try to control it. Exactly. I think the problem was that I was trying to control it. Because y'all were actually like Majimon Kichi. He hasn't been, here in a bit in the chat. I hope he's okay. But like he definitely was telling me during my practice streams that like, you can really let go a little bit more. Like you can rubato it way more, I think he was picking up on this. Like I think he was picking up on the fact that like it just doesn't work with my flute. Like, playing super precise, it is like super precise with like metronomic, like robotic tempo just doesn't work on it. Just doesn't work on this, Listen to Clara Andrada. Her Iber and Nielsen are so relaxed. Like this, right? Like what I'm talking about, right? It's a bit of that, it has that like rubato loosey-goosiness, right? Thank you so much. I will definitely, I'm going to open that up. Now I'm not going to play it on here because DMCA. Oops. I don't think that's going to be DMCA'd. But I'm going to keep that open. And I think you might have shared it with me before, but I'm going to watch it after I'm done. Oh my God, she played both the Iber and the Nielsen in the same concert. That's insane. But at the same time, though, if she can play it so like loosey-goosey relaxed, I get it. Because you're not as uptight, right? And if you're not as uptight, you're more relaxed. If you're more relaxed, you can do way more, way longer, you know? Yeah, yes. Like, I need to play this like I don't care. I think, like, we were all kind of, catching that feel of, like, something's not right if I try to be super precise. If I try to be super metronomic, it just doesn't sound right, you know? I think we were all picking up on it, but then like I just wasn't giving myself the permission to do it because I was like, this can't be right. This is too loosey-goosey, you know? But I think I think I need to. Like, I think I picked a head joint where absolutely I need to do it. Like, that's why when I play like the Genshin themes and stuff, you know, I'm just kind of letting myself be loosey-goosey and everything. And it's like, it's the same tune every time. It's not like I'm going crazy with like changing the rhythms. It's just that push and pull. You like, I'm allowing myself to do that push and pull, right? So I'm realizing now, if I'm going to make like classical repertoire work for me, I have to play with the same kind of loosey-goosey, you know, rubato. Yeah, I was picking up on my head joint, but I wasn't realizing it. Like, I wasn't realizing that I was picking up on the fact that my head joint did not want to have that level of control. You know what I mean? Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Don't hold it on a pedestal. Yep. Exactly. Like, I think my brain is still afraid of having stones thrown at me for playing, you know, this like repertoire, you know, with like loosey-goosey rubato, you know? Like, I think I've been sort of trained into that fear, you know? And I don't think it's all left me yet. Yeah, you too, right? Yeah, exactly. Composers rolling in their graves. Exactly. Like, I've been told this so many times that I just like, you know, I get so scared. I get so scared of like kind of getting out of the box, right? I think what I take a lot of comfort in is that composers these days, I don't know if you guys notice, but like if you guys watch the Haunty composer and flutist Gregory. So the composer, so I interviewed the composer, and you know, we were talking about like, you know, composition and you know, et cetera, how they came up with you know, the Haunty music and stuff. And I think one very like the biggest point that really stuck with me after that conversation was the fact that they really collaborated. You know, there was this sort of like, you know, as the composer, you know, they're not so stuck in like their vision that they can't go another direction, you know, like composers these days. And he's definitely not the only composer that I know thinks of this. So if you guys want to go check out that particular stream, let me just give you guys the name of it. It's the Kingma and Pearl alto flutes. Kingma and Pearl alto flutes live review and Haunty live learn. So I learned one of the main themes in Haunty, featuring composer Michael Kirby Ward and flutist Gregory Orrs. So, like, if you guys look that up, maybe I can actually just give you guys the link here. Here, I'll give you guys the link if you haven't already put it in. But there you go. If you guys, thank you, Amir. you got it almost right there. So yeah, if you guys like, listen to that interview. It's really interesting that like I love the fact that composers these days are not set in their vision. They have sort of this framework, and they have this kind of like big picture vision, but then they love working with musicians and seeing how musicians spin their ideas, like it's a two-way thing. So sometimes I believe it was like the ending theme or something, the ending song, Michael actually remixed pre-recorded things that Greg already did, but remixed it into the song that it happens at the end of Haunty. And like, so it absolutely goes both ways. I think that's so cool, and I think Greg was the one who was really pushing for like use an alto flute. Like that's the tone color you are actually looking for, like based on this melody, and like, so I love the fact that composers are not as hung up on their vision and their decisions as I think a lot of us musicians think they are. And I think the hopeful part of me thinks that way of composers who are no longer with us. All right. I would love to give them the benefit of the doubt that they would actually kind of really like to see a different spin on their music, So I'm just kind of choosing to see it that way, and then put my spin on, and my head joint can put its spin on, music written by people who are no longer with us, right? So like, I learned a lot about myself today, guys. And I hope you guys learned a lot too. Before I go, do you guys have any questions or any like thoughts on, other things that you wanted me to kind of contemplate? I'm open. I'm not, pressed for time right now, so I can, like, while I clean up, I can answer any questions, or if you guys have any like other ideas of things that maybe in the future I might want to try, that'd be cool. It's just right now I'm really tired. That was I think I didn't realize how tired I was getting until I was like making all sorts of mistakes, and I was like, yeah, I'm getting tired. Mozart is dead? I know. It is. It's a shocker. It is a shocker. He really was like I feel like Mozart would fit in quite well with music culture now. Music culture hasn't really changed a lot. I don't know how many of you guys know, but he was kind of like a party frat boy. And and he definitely wrote some, I probably shouldn't say the name of the piece here, but he absolutely wrote some very, very pearl clutching pieces that honestly would put a lot of pop songs these days to shame. Like he was more explicit than some of the pop songs these days. Yeah. Yeah, those risque pieces. Yeah, exactly. The butt joke one, yeah. So, okay, I do have a question here. Wonderful. So let me get, by the way, I am using Cam Voyage for my swab and for my polishing cloth here. So if you want to get a charm to go with it, the maker of all of this is Just Another Flute Guy here in the chat, Nicholas, as I keep referring to him. So this is a special charm just for the JAF family, just for the Just Another Flutist family. use my code JAF when you order your swabs from Just Another Flute Guy, camvoyageonline.com. Okay. If you order this and then you put in the code JAF, you'll get this charm. So if you meet other flutists who have this charm, you'll know that they are part of this corner of the internet. Okay? So let me make that go away, and then we're done the review, so we're gonna make that go away too. There we go. Okay. Maybe let's start with my foot joint. But yeah, there was a question, which is, do I have tips for getting started on the flute? Okay. Boring answer. But get yourself an in-person flute teacher. I cannot even stress to you how helpful this is, okay? Because this in-person teacher can kind of nudge you physically to put yourself in the right position and stuff like that. There are some things that are very difficult to show online, like how hard you're blowing into the flute and stuff like that. I did my best. All right. So I made a video, Viracosan, you might have already seen it, but I made a video called Your First Flute Lesson, or like adult flute students' first flute lesson, something like that. I made it back in December. Okay. So if you watch that one, you'll know that you'll see that I've come up like on the fly. I came up with just like a way to demonstrate how hard you're blowing into the flute, because you can't actually show that online, or it's very difficult to. So I like put a piece of paper up to my face and was like, this is what the paper should do. It should flop in this way if you're doing it correctly. Like that seemed to have helped people. Like I have gotten some fantastic rave reviews of that video. So I'm glad that it seemed to have worked. However, it can only really actually take you so far. I highly recommend that you get yourself an in-person flute teacher, at least for your first year. This is actually my requirement for students who want to join my online flute studio. You have to be with a teacher for the first year of your playing, because there are just some things, let me tell you, is just so hard to show online and stuff like that. And like when you're reading descriptions, so like I'm guessing you're probably like looking at blog posts, you're looking at social media posts and stuff like that, of how, and other videos about like how you tongue, how you do this and how you do that, right? But like when a teacher is watching you, they can judge what is your next skill that you should learn, right? Like they can judge like, now that you've done, like low note tone, maybe now is a good time to now move on to middle register tone, right? But like, if you're just starting out, for example, I'm not going to be mentioning vibrato or anything like that, right? But the internet is full of information. So you probably already know about vibrato. I mean, we just talked about it, right? So like, but when you're actually being guided, the teacher will be like now's not the time for you to worry about vibrato, because you're still like, building that muscle memory for your embouchure, right? You're building muscle memory for your fingerings and stuff like that. If they're going to like slap on vibrato, no endings, tonguing, double tonguing, and blah, 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 blah. If they like keep piling stuff on, you're just going to get super overwhelmed, right? Which is what happens to a lot of people, like information overload, basically, if they just try to learn online. So yeah, like in terms of getting started on the flute, in-person teacher. Now, second thing, and this is really only for my adult flute students who are starting, okay? I'm assuming from the way that you're talking, you sound like you might be past middle school at least. Not that we can tell. Everyone is age 55 here in the chat, okay? So for my adult flute students, something for you to keep in mind is that in the beginning, you're going to be like super into it. You're going to be super passionate. You're going to be like, you know, probably you're just going to be making a ton of time to practice. But let me tell you, that motivation, it's not if, it will wane, okay? It will. There ain't no, you can't get around it. It's gonna wane, okay? And why would it wane? Even if you are so passionate, you're an adult. Life happens, okay? Like, your pet gets sick. Your parents get sick. You get sick. You get into an accident. Your loved one gets into an accident. The AC broke. The heater broke. The water tank broke. The fridge is making weird noises. You know, an electrical circuit decided to just poop itself, you know, and then suddenly you have to spend way too much money getting an electrician out. I know this sounds really, really specific, but these might have been things that have happened to me. Okay, except for the pet, because I don't have pets. But life happens. You lose your steam, okay? And then you're like, okay, what now, right? Now, a lot of people will just kind of, they'll lose steam and they'll just go, okay? But now, what I always tell people is you kind of want to reel yourself back in the beginning, okay? Like, force yourself to only practice a maximum of half an hour a day. Because in the beginning, you're going to want to practice all day, every day, okay? But you're going to lose it, okay? It's going to wane. Life happens. But if you start out with only like a 20 to 30 minute practice session a day, then life happens and you have to slow down, right? Now it's not so much of a, like a, it doesn't feel like such a mountain to climb when you're like, oh, okay, like life is busy. So like I can only visit the flute 3 times this week for my 20 to 30 minutes. That is way less of a blow than if you were practicing like 2 hours a day, right? Because if you compare 2 hours every day, 7 days a week, and you had to be forced to cut down to 3 times a week, half an hour each time, you'd be like, then what's the point of practicing? I'm not, whatever. And you get super disappointed. You get super like, discouraged. And it's like, what's the point of doing it? Might as well not. And then you don't. And then you lose steam. And then you stop the flute, right? Now, if you only cut down from half an hour a day to 3 times a week, half an hour, you're not cutting down as much. It's not as much of a sharp blow. Because it's not as much of a sharp blow, you're like, oh, I'm only practicing half as much as before, so I can still see myself making progress, right? And then you'll keep going, and then ultimately, life will get better. Life will become boring again. It's always like, life is always way too much excitement and then boring, and then way too much excitement and then boring. That's just kind of how life goes. It's up and down like that, okay? So in the excitement part of life, or quite frankly, crappy part of life, all right, you probably can only practice somewhere between 1 to 3 times a week, right? And then like the boring times of life, you can practice like 6 times a week, right? And that's just going to be the way it is, But a lot of people, like, I think don't account for life happening, and that's why they lose steam. So, yeah, been there, done that. Yep, so exactly. Like, I think that, like, if you're an adult, you know that this happens to us. Like, this is why the New Year's resolution just fizzles for a lot of people. That like I'm literally describing why people give up their New Year's resolution, because life happens to you in February and then you're like, oh shoot, like now I suddenly can only do whatever resolution I was doing. I have to do it way less frequently now. Oh, what's the point of doing it? Oh, whatever. And then you just kind of drop it, right? So, you know, like I would say that in terms of getting started on the flute, weirdly, in my opinion, you want to really measure, like, and be very like conservative with how much time you're devoting to the flute. You want it to be something that you can cut down on and still not feel bad about it. But then also, once life is boring again, you can easily up it again. And it still doesn't take up a crazy amount of your time because let's face it, you're an adult, you have things to do, okay? So, and you have people to see. There you go. Yeah, everyone at the gym on New Year's Day versus January 2nd. Yeah, pretty much, right? So, like, I feel at least that this is the part about learning a new skill as an adult, like a new hobby, a new skill. This is the thing ain't nobody talks about, but I feel like everyone should talk about it. Because, like, if you think about it, even in, like, the beginning of the year when everyone's going to the gym, actually what that is, that's a new hobby, okay? Or new skill, depending on how you want to see it, okay? It actually, like, you have to treat working out like a new hobby, like a new skill. Ain't no way you're going to, like, keep with it if you don't, right? So, so, like, the reason why people drop off is legit. It's just life happens, right? You're doing it way too much in the beginning. You don't have time for it when life happens. You fizzle out because you're like, what's the point of, like, if I'm just only going to do like 10 minutes of it, right? But no, that 10 minutes makes a big difference. But you don't see that because you were doing so much of it before, right? The feeling of improvement is not as sharp, right? Whereas if you got used to the feeling of like, oh, I'm only here for like 20, 30 minutes, you know? And then I like, you know, I can still live my life. I can still do normal life things, right? And you are experiencing the improvement, right? Then you trust more. You trust the smaller amount of time way more. Whereas if you were binging it before, you don't trust that 20 minutes or that 10 minutes is going to do anything for you, right? Yeah, yes, loses the novelty. Yep. So if you start the flute, like, it will be novel in the beginning. It will lose its novelty. It'll become normal, okay? Completely normal. You still enjoy it. You still have fun, but it's normal. It's not new. It's not exciting. It's like, you know, you're past the like rosy lens falling in love stage, you know? You're completely, you're past it. We're done, you know? Like, you're in the relationship part of it, you know? You're not in the falling in love part of it. So, you know, but yeah, those are my two big things about starting on the flute. Weirdly, has very little to do with actual flute playing. But like, if you want to start it and then keep it going, that's how you do it. You start with a teacher, so you get good guidance, someone who can sort of essentially make your developmental decisions for you, so you don't have to be the one figuring it out all on your own. Like, how are you going to develop? How are you going to pace yourself? Blah, 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 right? Like, you ideally, you do not want it to do that part on your own, because, you know, you don't have the roadmap for like what's in front of you. So get a teacher who can get you that roadmap, that can guide you down that roadmap, right? And then when you're actually practicing, don't overdo it. You got to restrict yourself to something that you can see yourself doing. Maybe a little bit, like, it's roughly what you would do if this was completely normal and boring to you. You know, generally speaking, personally, I find that my students do completely okay and well. I know this sounds like very little, but they improve. I see improvement. I see that they're enjoying it and it's not bogging them down, anywhere between 3 to 6 times a week, about half an hour every time. Now, some people can't play that long. Their stamina is really low. So what they do is they split their practice session into 2 sessions. So 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at night, something like that. Or 15 minutes during their lunch break, 15 minutes at night, something like that. Some people even like start the day with it. So they'll start with 15 or 20 minutes, like as if they're going to the gym, or it's like part of their gym kind of routine is they do their 15 minutes of flute playing and then they go to the gym, you know? And then like when they come back or during their, you know, if they work from home during the lunch break, they'll do another 15 minutes, you know, it's like much more doable that way. Still live your life. Everything's fine and dandy. So like you want to start with a practice routine that you can actually see yourself continuing, and you can see yourself making it, you know, a little bit smaller. Like it's easy to make the time a little bit smaller when life is busy. It's easy to increase it a little bit reasonably when life is boring. So, yeah, exactly. Okay. You see yourself playing the flute. Perfect. All right. So you just have to be, what I'm telling you is to be realistic about it. All right. Yeah. Yeah, see? 15 minutes. Exactly. You see how like if you consistently do smaller amounts of practicing, it's way more doable. It's way more doable. It's easier to slot into your existing schedule. You don't have to give up too many things in order to do it. And then as soon as it becomes normal to you, you know, like it feels good. Like it's just, you know, it's part of your rhythm. It's part of your life, you know, it's part of, you know, part of what makes you you, you know? So anyway, I got very excited talking about that. Thank you for asking that question. That was really, really fun. So let me see if there are any other questions that I may have missed. Micro practicing. I like that name. May I steal that? That is a great term. I love it. Do I know the Pomodoro method? I've heard of it. I've heard of the name. Can you remind me what that is? Thank you, Vericosid. I will tell my students that you came up with this. Micro practicing. It's great. Works great, you know? Like, especially in this kind of day and age where we honestly cannot devote like, you know, like that amount of time all the time, you know, it's really great. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Did I miss any other questions? I don't think I did, but I am sorry if I missed your question. I don't think I missed the question though. Yeah. So anyway, guys, I really enjoyed myself today. Thank you for being a nerd with me and watching me discover what made flute playing so hard for me. I'm like, man, if I'd known this, life would have been so much easier. It's a little way less guessing, throwing darts in the dark, you know? And I am now also way more comfortable too with my current head joint. This has actually made me more comfortable with my current head joint. I now know that rubato loosey-goosiness is really encouraged by the head joint itself. And I think that is wild. Of course. Cam Voyage. Well, Nicholas. Just Another Flute Guy and Cam Voyage here in the chat is the same person. Just so you guys know. But yeah, please go get your Cam Voyage swabs and get your charm when you put in the code JAF, all right? And then if you see someone else sporting this, then you'll know that they're one of us, all right? One of us nerds. So I will take my leave now. Thank you all so much for joining. Please stay happy, healthy, and safe to the best of your ability. And yeah, take care, because there's no music without the musician. I will see you guys sometime next week. I haven't figured out what I'm going to do. I might ask the Flute Center for the Germany Lafin. We'll see if that goes through. I can, because personally, what I would really love is to be able to do a back-to-back comparison between the U.S. the Brannen Lafin and the German Lafin. But again, I don't know if it's going to, like, if the German one will fit in my flute. I don't know if it's going to fit into the Murumatsu. So we'll see. Nagahara versus Sankyo. Right, we did want to do that, didn't we? Okay, I can try that. So I'll ask for all of these things and see what they can do. We'll see. But we may end up having a filler episode next week while we kind of figure out all of this stuff. So hope you guys don't mind. But love you guys, and see you guys sometime next week.